Nariyastu Pujyante Ramante Tatre Devata. It is a wonderful citation for gender justice for women empowerment in Indian tradition. That means that if there is respect and regard for a woman, indeed, God and goddesses reside there.
Today, I, Sayuri Khare, am going to deliver the abridged version of a speech of Priyanka Chopra on women empowerment. In life, there are moments when you stop and ask yourself, how did I get here? Why am I standing here? This is definitely one of those moments for me, and I find myself going back to the beginning. I was born to incredible parents who served as doctors in the Indian Army. I was the firstborn, and as far as I can remember, I made my parents very proud and happy 99% of the time. My brother was born a few years later, and even then, nothing changed for me. We were both given equal opportunities, and I really want to emphasize this for you because I don't think a lot of people might understand that being equal seems very normal. It's actually a privilege. My first experience of the glaring disparity between boys and girls came at a very young age. My parents constantly reminded me and my brother how lucky we were and how giving back to those who were less fortunate was not a choice, it was a part of life. I was 8 years old when my parents started taking me on visits in a traveling clinic to develop communities and villages around the city that we lived in, Bareilly. We were packed into an ambulance, and my parents would provide free medical care to people who couldn't afford it. My job at the age of 8 was an assistant pharmacist. I would count all the medicines, put them in an envelope, and give it out to patients. And believe me, I really took my job very seriously. But the more I went on these expeditions, the more I began to notice the simplest things that distinguished a boy from a girl or a man from a woman. For example, girls were pulled out of school when they hit puberty because they were considered ready for marriage and babies. That's 12 and 13 when boys still enjoyed their childhood. Or basic human rights such as healthcare were denied just because they were women. Let's call this whole experience trigger number 1 for me. But I really think what moved the needle for me and ultimately led me to partner with UNICEF was an encounter with my housekeeper's daughter. I came home from set early one day and she was sitting in my library reading a book, and I knew she loved reading. So I asked her, "It's a weekday, why aren't you in school?" And she said, "Oh, I don't go to school." So I went and asked her mother, and she said that a family couldn't afford to send her and her brothers to school, so they chose the boys. The reason? She would eventually get married and it would be a waste of money. I decided to cover the cost of her education so that she could continue to learn because education is a basic human right. From that point on, I was determined to make a difference in as many children's lives as I could. There's a really beautiful quote that I had read recently, and I think it is absolutely appropriate to say, "The hand that rocks the cradle, the procreator, the mother of tomorrow, a woman shapes the destiny of civilization." Such is the tragic irony of fate that a beautiful creation, such as a girl child, is today one of the gravest concerns facing humanity. Girls have the power to change the future. It is a fact, and yet today, girls are more likely than boys never to set foot in a classroom. Despite all the efforts and progress made over the last 2 decades, more than 15 million girls of primary school age will never learn how to read or write compared to 10 million boys. Over the last 11 years, I have witnessed firsthand the incredible work that UNICEF does for children around the world, but there is still so much work to do. The reason I'm so committed to this cause is because I know that a girl's education not just empowers families, but communities and economies as well. As a result of her education, we all do better. Thank you.
लता मंगेशकर रॉयल एल्बर्ट हॉल में प्रदर्शन करने वाली पहली भारतीय थी। 2001 में भारत रत्न पाने वाली पहली महिला गायिका हैं। रानी लक्ष्मीबाई 1857 के भारतीय विद्रोह की प्रमुख हस्तियों में से एक थी और भारतीय राष्ट्रवादियों के लिए ब्रिटिश राज के प्रतिरोध का प्रतीक बन गई। सावित्रीबाई फुले, उन्हें भारत की पहली महिला शिक्षक माना जाता है। अपने पति ज्योतिराव फुले के साथ उन्होंने ब्रिटिश शासन के दौरान भारत में महिलाओं के अधिकारों को बेहतर बनाने में महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभाई। मदर टेरेसा 1979 में नोबेल शांति पुरस्कार जीतने वाली पहली भारतीय महिला बनी। इंदिरा गांधी भारत की पहली महिला प्रधानमंत्री बनी और 1966 से 1977 तक देश की सेवा की। प्रतिभा पाटिल भारत की पहली महिला राष्ट्रपति बनी और जुलाई 2007 से जुलाई 2012 तक कार्यालय रही। कल्पना चावला पहली भारतीय महिला थीं जो अंतरिक्ष में पहुंची। किरण बेदी 1972 में भारतीय पुलिस सेवा में शामिल हुई। किरण बेदी भारत की पहली महिला अधिकारी बनी।
Empowering women is a social responsibility. A society will be better if women are not taken for granted and are given equal respect. Today, women are reaching greater heights and are even going to space. They are indeed making the world turn heads towards them. Now I, Ashi Upadhyay, going to recite a poem on the magical powers of women. Remember women, you were born life giver, miracle creator, magic maker. You were born with the heart of 1,000 mothers, open and fearless and sweet. You were born with the fire of queens and conquerors, warrior's blood you bleed. You were born with the wisdom of sages and shamans. No wound can you not heal. You were born the teller of your own tale, before none should you kneel. You were born with an immeasurable soul, reaching out past infinity. You were born to desire with passion, abandon and to make your own destiny. Remember, woman, remember, you are more than you can see. Remember, woman, remember, you are loved endlessly. Remember, women, your power and grace, the depth of your deep